And we have Kyle from Seeds of Music on the line right now, all the way from California, correct?
Yes, specifically Long Beach.
Long Beach. Is it a long beach?
It's a awesome beach slash kind of dirty beach slash lots of tankers bringing in cargo. No, it's a cool city.
Sweet. California, that must be nice. I'm sure the weather's nice down there, yeah?
Yeah, it's actually starting to get a little bit warm, but for the past couple of months, it's like perfect weather, like 72 or upper 60s and sunny. So can't complain.
It's finally getting sunny up here. We don't really get much of that up in Canada. It's always cold and snow blowing around and stuff. But now it's a little bit nicer. I like it.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I've pretty much spent most of my life in the southeast United States and now in the southwest, Southern California. So I'm always used to warm weather. Not really adapted to cold. But I don't even have like a heavy jacket. I don't even own it. Yeah, I don't even own a heavy jacket. I basically, to make a heavy jacket, I take several light jackets and just put them on top of each other.
Whatever works. That's funny. Yeah. That's funny because, I'm the complete opposite. I never get any chance to really travel down to your area, so it's always up here. The only time that I get a chance to experience the warm weather is, that couple months in the summertime where it's super hot. And then other than that, it's a little chilly.
Okay.
But we live in out here. I want to get into this interview a little bit here, get some knowledge from you. I've been watching a lot of your interviews in the last few weeks here. Just found out about you on the web randomly. I don't know how, going through one of those random YouTube tunnels.
Yeah.
And stumbled across your website. And this Seeds of Music and everything, and you interview a lot of different artists from all sorts of genres of music, and also people. I noticed like you interviewed the guy who runs Pledge Fund, or the guy who started that.
Pledge Music,
which is a really good platform, which DubFX, actually one of the artists that I've interviewed before, he used that for his last album, Theory of Harmony, and did really well. So different things that you've been talking about, funding, crowdfunding, doing house concerts, the importance of email lists and stuff like that. I just wanted to get a little bit into, what are some of the key ingredients that you've found now that you've amassed so much information and hours of doing these interviews with different artists. What are some of the really key things that you've found are ways that independent artists have been able to make a living off of doing music?
Yeah, I think before I get into that, it's important for anyone listening to kind of understand like where I'm coming from and exactly where all this information was coming from. I mean, I'm an independent artist myself. Been playing guitar for quite some time, and I played in a bunch of different bands, like in the Southeast, and I kind of had this moment where I opened for Creedence Clearwater Revisited, because John Fogerty left Creedence Clearwater, so it took the name. But so it was really awesome opening for them. But after I got off stage and was loading the gear in my car, I realized, I just opened for like an amazing, very established rock band. And, but now I'm just kind of packing up my stuff and you have to go back to my job the next day. And so, I was kind of really discouraged from that. And so fast forward, a couple of years till I ended up in LA. It was a lot of years of just kind of struggling and spinning my wheels because I kind of felt like, well, what's the use? Because a lot of the musicians that I look up to, are struggling as well, whether they're signed to a label or not, and there's just a lot of challenges. So it's kind of like, what's the use? So instead of just kind of wallowing in that misery, I decided to start a web show where I would just interview musicians around the globe who were making it work somehow. And eventually, in the beginning, it was just talking about any kind of different tactics to get results, like whether it's getting more people out to shows or getting more people to buy CDs at a show or getting more people to see your post on social media, just little successes. And then it kind of blossomed into, started doing mostly interviews with just musicians who were making a full-time living, and then I also interviewed professionals who worked in the industry as music producers. Like I had the guy who originally developed Macy Gray on the show, Joe Solo, and most recently had Steve Rennie, who is manager for Incubus, on the show as well. Mm-hmm. So really all this knowledge is coming from just like, I think 80 plus interviews, so 80 plus people from all varying disciplines and skill levels who are all, deeply embedded in the industry, and that's what they do. That's their thing. And I've been able to kind of notice a lot of patterns and similarities between how they think and the things that they do, their strategies that just really, really make the difference for them. So to get back to your question about like what are some like key components of it that make them successful in whatever level that they're successful at, I think that while there isn't any hard, fast rules in the music business, what I've noticed is that I think at some level, where they realize it or not, they're able to kind of reconcile the art and commerce balance. Personally, this is like the first. I feel like this is the first line of, like, if making a living in music were a battle, like mm-hmm. a World War I battle, and you had two sides entrenched, in the trenches, and there's a no man's land, but but once you run across that and get past the mortar shells, then you're able to get into the other enemy's bunkers and kind of start to actually move and make headway. But it's really tough to get past that no man's land. So that first line of defense, I feel like, or first major obstacle, is just being able to be comfortable with the idea of making money from your music or from your art. For some musicians, it's not a problem, but in my experience, a lot of the musicians who aren't yet as successful as they want to be, they tend to have this kind of mentality where they want to do music full time, but at the same time they say things and act in certain ways that make me think that they don't have a healthy perspective on money or the ways that they do make money, and that essentially money is this evil thing that causes, they make out money to be more than just paper and metal, which is literally what it is. It's paper and metal that we give a sign of value to. So I feel like that kind of, in a way, is an impediment to a musician's progress when you have conflicting thoughts about making a living, about earning money, about capitalism, or whatever, because a lot of musicians are some of us can be very political, and a lot of us are very, very emotional creatures as well. So I think that's the first thing. And I know some people might disagree with me on that, and I have a good friend who was kind of skeptical when I brought this up, but it's more or less just what I've seen. I'm not saying like this is how it is for everyone, because some people are like, shoot, yeah, I want to earn money and make that. I'm not like adverse to making money, but yeah. So beyond that, the next critical component is beyond a my shadow of a doubt. Like, you have musicians who are kind of stuck in this mentality, and I feel like the majority of musicians are stuck in this mentality where we're so overwhelmed by what we think we have to do to be successful in music that we still want someone else to come along and do it all for us, whether it's an A&R rep or the right manager, or just someone who's going to take and handle all the stuff that we just don't want to do, because we have stories we tell ourselves about what we're capable of. Like, I'm an artist, so I can't do that business and marketing stuff. But the artists that are going to thrive beyond a shadow of doubt in my mind, the ones that will truly thrive are the artists who try to build an entrepreneurial mindset and skill set. I'm just seeing it time, it's almost like this growing movement in a sense. And I think in the past, there are artists who tapped into that, and whether they realized it or didn't realize it, they tapped into that entrepreneurial mindset and achieved success that way. But I think now there's like more of a movement where we're more aware of entrepreneurship because of San Francisco and the tech industry, and how it's almost like entrepreneurship can kind of seem like a fad in a sense, how much it's cropping up. But yeah, I think at the core of it, so musicians might be who are listening might think, no, entrepreneur, like I'm not a businessman, or okay, well, just forget what you think an entrepreneur is, and just think about it this way. An entrepreneur is at its core is someone who's able to recognize opportunities and create more value. Mm-hmm. That's it. So if the music you're creating is not creating any value for anyone, including yourself, well, why are you doing it? So if you create music that creates values for others, then one way you can be compensated for that, besides love and hugs, is for people to express that appreciation by giving you money. Mm-hmm. But so I think like that part of the entrepreneurial mindset is being able to recognize and act on opportunities, creating more value, and just trying things out and seeing what sticks and what doesn't stick, and moving on. Not getting stuck on any one idea that's just not working. So a common example would be if a musician selling CDs at their shows, and they position the CDs in it like way back instead of front of the merch table, and the CD jacket looks really bad, and it's like a blank $5 flat for the CD, and no one's buying it. Well, that most musicians will, if they're not selling a CD, will just keep doing that and never sell any more CDs and never do anything different. A musician with the entrepreneurial mindset will ask a question like, okay, well, why are these CDs not selling? And besides from the music itself, obviously people need to enjoy the music and be compelled by the live show to pick up that CD and support you. But, well, is it where could I place the CDs better? Are people actually knowing I have selling CDs? Am I telling them about the merch? Do I really have to price it like as $5? What if I tried going the Amanda Palmer route and saying like pay what you can afford thing, and then seeing in the end how much, if that helps me to earn more that way? So it's kind of like that, something's not working, you try something different, So it's not like going to business school and learning macroeconomics or whatever they learn in business school, because I've never gone, but really just cultivating the mindset of, okay, this isn't working, let me try something else, and then just keep going through this iterative process of failing, trying something else, failing, and so on and so forth. And this obviously applies hugely to the marketing and promotion, which you just have to do. So you got to get over it. You're going to have to do that until you get to a certain level where you can start bringing other people in, and whether you're paying them or not paying them, you can work that out. But until then, it's going to be up to you to take the reins and take hold of your destiny. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't feel that way, then you're going to have a tough time. I'm not going to say you're not going to succeed, but I just feel like you will have a very hard time. In a business it's already really hard, so it's just going to be harder. So yeah, like that. Yeah, I'd say that those two major points are, getting clear in your mind about like your relationship with money, making sure you have a positive relationship with it. Understanding that money is not the end; it's the means to the end. You need money to enable you to create more of your art, nothing more, nothing less, to feed yourself, take care of your family, read something nice for your mom, whatever it is, that's all it is. You don't make you fall into a trap when you need validation in your music by how much money you're earning from it. Obviously, that's like BS, because in my opinion, there's a lot of music that doesn't create much true value that makes a lot of money, Mm-hmm. So, but it's up to you to, I'm not going to tell you what personal values for you to have. But I'm also kind of going to throw down my 2 cents too, as well. So yeah, there's that reconciling art and commerce, how you feel about money, establishing that positive relationship. Number 2, developing and cultivating an entrepreneurial mindset and skill set. And the third, I would say, would be to diversify your income, meaning you got to find out ways to make money more than just selling your CDs, because that's not going to, that's not going to hack it. Your objective is to make a living. You're never going to do it that way,
Yeah, no, I was listening to the one interview that you did there where the guy was doing a lot of music licensing and doing, themes and jingles, doing stuff for Mattel. He was saying was one of his big customers, and a lot of different other customers where he's still doing music, but he's not, creating music that he'd obviously put on his album, just music that he's getting paid for.
Exactly. And I think there's, I'll go out on a limb and say, I think specifically when it comes to the licensing, and you're licensing to things like Mattel and like corporations and commercials, you'll just have to decide if you're willing to do that based off of however you feel about that. I know it doesn't sound appealing to a lot of musicians, but at the same time, is it as bad as not doing music at all?
Mm-hmm. And you can find good ones that kind of resonate with you. Like, for example, it was a couple years ago. I was doing this festival out in Waterloo. It's this kids festival thing. They do like a huge theme park stuff with like rides and all that. And the guy who organized it booked me there. And CBC, which is our like national broadcasting company for Canada, was shooting a television show that day, one of their TV series called The Marketplace, and it's basically all on consumer products and letting people know about, corrupt companies or like, different things within the marketplace and consumers that are good. It's good stuff. So the marriage for me getting involved in it was they wanted me to come up with the theme song for their show, which was called Rap Rage, and it was all about how packaging, there's excess of packaging, right? So people have like a tiny little thing with this huge amount of packaging around it, and it's a lot of waste. Plus little kids are like getting themselves cut when they're trying to open up Barbie doll toys and stuff like that. It's just and the people who are producing these products aren't really taking any of that into consideration. So I came up with a song, me and my producer, to basically go along with the show, and they paid me pretty well for it. I came out and like did a performance for it, and it felt right, you know what I mean? Like I was like, this is something I can stand behind. I'm with it 100%. So there are, every now and then you get lucky with something where you can get paid for doing your music, and it can actually be beneficial and feel good for you too.
Yeah, and you'll never find an opportunity like that if you're in the mindset of like, holier than thou, I'm not gonna create any music for that's like a theme for anything. But that's just, again, that's just a personal decision. But you have that is an option. The point is, it is an option, and as you've demonstrated, like you don't have to be doing Coca-Cola jingles, to tap into that. So yeah, music licensing is a big part of that. There's many more streams of income that you can be pulling in from. I mean, now besides just the obvious Kickstarter, there's also Patreon, which is the continuous crowdfunding. Where you people pledge a certain amount of money monthly for you to make a certain amount of creations, or it can just be a straight monthly amount. And I think that's pretty amazing, considering that's like monthly income for creating the music that you create. So it's just like that crowdfunding, and then of course the option still is like physical sales, digital sales, tiny bit of money from streaming, but it is an option.
What is that company called again? Pantheon, you said?
Patreon. Founder is Jack Conte. He's one half of Pomplamoose. If you ever go onto YouTube and punch in Pomplamoose, you can see a lot of really awesome like cover vids that they shot are really entertaining, and that's kind of how they built their fan base, like him and Natalie Dawn. And he went on to fund Patreon, which is basically continual income. Monthly, it's crowdfunding, but instead of per project, it's getting paid on a monthly basis.
Yeah, so you can almost guarantee it. Like once you get a certain amount of people that are subscribing and paying monthly, you're like you can get pretty set that way.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I'll say right there, it's a little bit more of a challenge to get people to commit to something, to paying for something monthly, because it's another monthly bill they're thinking about. But if you had 100 pages pledging $1 a month for you to put out 2 tracks or a music video, or it can be anything, like anything, creativity abound, and that's $100 a month you wouldn't have otherwise. Obviously, some of those might be like $2 or $3, and you give them different tiers, based off of the dollar tier. It could just be like a pat on the back, but for $3, $5, you give them huge value. Call them on the phone, send them an email, like a jingle, whatever it may be. I encourage anybody, to check out the interview I did with Jack Conte, but also check out Patreon and kind of look at what other artists are doing on there. It does require you to, have that direct-to-fan communication. So if you're like a hermit crab, it's going to be harder for you, because you're just going to have to talk to your fans. But I think that direct-to-fan communication is the best way to get as like the straightest line to a full-time income than most anything else, because you can directly control that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess to just review back on those 3 points, the third would be to diversify your income. I interviewed I had an individual from Kristen Thompson from, oh gosh, this was so long ago, from thefuturemusic.org. She had an article that listed all the different, it was like 40-something sources of income, of musical income, that you could tap into. So I encourage anyone listening to that to check out futuremusic.org and search for like artist income sources on their website. Should be an article that talks about that. And that's pretty much something that you could dedicate, 30 a month's time on trying to maximize, each one of those income sources. And you might find that for certain artists, they get most of their money from one thing more than the other. If we talk about Pareto's principle, getting the 80% results from 20% of your efforts, Mm-hmm. So for your 80-20, for your income sources could be music licensing. So you get 80% of your income from music licensing, just one thing. And then you get a little bit from the rest. For other people, it's mostly from touring, believe it or not. When people say you can't make money touring, well, tour smart and you tour hard, you can make money. It's rough, but it is an option. So the idea is that if you diversify enough, then those little bits of money add up to something substantial enough that will pay all your bills, and you can say bye-bye to your job, if your day job or whatever it is working, and just be doing your music full-time, Mm-hmm. And I think at that point, once you cross that threshold, you're in a whole nother ballgame. It can be scary, but because I have a brother of mine who just recently went full-time, and his 80-20 is playing cover gigs. But he's killing it just because he said F it, and just went for it, and just got connected with the local community, developed those relationships. I mean, building rapport with people and developing relationships as a musician is be more important than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And I think it's always been important. But now you can have so much direct, continual contact with the people you're making relationships with because of the internet. So the internet is like the true catalyst in a lot of this. So in essence, a lot about the music business is still the same, because if we're talking about success, we're talking about just timeless human psychology, philosophy elements of success that go into anything, no matter what you do. No matter if you're Buckminster Fuller or if you're John Coltrane. I think there's certain timeless elements of success that still stay the same. What's different now is technology and the internet and the way we communicate is like, it's unbelievable. And I'd say specifically for music creation, you have like, you know, you can get a copy of Cubase or Reason or Ableton Live and look at what you can do, you know, as opposed to what you could do just 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, like, because Ableton Live, like, DJs don't have to, you know, beat match anymore. I'm not saying I'm a DJ and I know how to do that, but it's just something I read about it. I just thought that was interesting, you know. So technology is the big catalyst. You definitely want to be aware of technology. You don't have to love it, or I don't know what your feelings are about, you know, technology and progress, but got to be aware of it, especially how technology is being used to communicate, so that you can communicate better with your fans and with other musicians and other people in your network. And I think there's nothing new about that. I mean, our instruments and the things we use are technology, and, you know, even analog recording technology is still technology. It's just that, you know, everything's got a lot of digital now. So, yeah, I'd say
being aware of how you're connecting with your fans is crucial. I think even just asking your fans the question of, like, how often do my posts reach you on Facebook? How much, you know, are you even on Facebook? A lot of people now, especially that I ask that question to, that are under the age of 20, they're like, I spend maybe 5% of my social media time on Facebook. The rest, like 75% of it, is on Snapchat, and then maybe a couple other ones like Twitter and stuff like that. And if you're not up to date with those kinds of technologies and you're still trying to get that same target market with your regular means of reaching your audience through your Facebook, it's not going to work anymore. So you definitely do got to be up on your technology and up on where people are actually consuming their media. Yeah,
and it's just, if anything, it's just because you, as the musician, it's your job. Yes, it's your job to promote your music, you know, and to use social media to get people out to your shows or to encourage people to listen to your music. But more importantly than that, you should be just making an effort to have conversations and be a human being. And I know a great book to read if anyone hasn't read it yet. Amanda Palmer put out a book last year called The Art of Asking. I would definitely recommend you read that. Anyone who wants to kind of understand about a little bit more about how someone is able to forge such a strong relationship with their fans and achieve great success in their own way with that, you know. There's also this other side of it, of the coin, where some people feel like, well, I'm not an Amanda Palmer personality type, so, you know, talking to the fans on social media and starting conversations and doing this direct-to-fan marketing thing isn't going to really work for me because it's not my personality type. Well, for one thing, from personal experience, I can say that I'm not, like, really that social. In some ways, I can be antisocial, and but you had to learn it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, even if you feel like that's not in your blood, in the sense of kind of you got to do what you got to do, realize that you're more capable of learning and being flexible than you give yourself credit for. You know, if you constantly tell yourself you're not capable of doing it, then you're probably not going to, but that's only really just because of how you're self-defining. So I think it's important to just realize that you are more flexible as a human being and doing things outside of what you think is in your personality than you may see at first. And I think a lot, I don't necessarily have any answers for it, but I think a lot about certain bands that have had great success and at the same time don't do a ton of interviews, don't play a ton of live shows, and yet they have like a really strong cult following and they're able to make the exact music that they want to make. And a great example of a band like that is Boards of Canada. They don't really play live shows. They don't really do interviews. But yeah, they have such a cult following, and you're not going to find them active on Twitter or Facebook. Of course, they were making albums back in the 90s. And they had one of their breakout albums was in 1998 or 97. I think it's an album called Music Has the Right to Children. And, and I think, there's instances and going to be instances like that where the music just able is to, the stars align, or, I don't know exactly. I'm just curious. I've loved the music, and I've just been curious about how things exactly worked out for them. That's a band that they weren't like on a huge mainstream level, and they're not like a mainstream band. They've been on Warp Records, but they still were working with the record label, but they didn't play a lot of live shows. So there's always going to be groups that kind of buck the hum of what we think the rules are, like, direct to fan is way to go, and I strongly believe in direct to fan as being an extremely effective method that is in your control, but at the same time, I'm not willing to say that it's going to be the end all be all and no one's ever going to challenge that concept. I think that there will be some artists to challenge that concept, but I do feel that the majority of musicians will benefit by pursuing the direct-to-fan model of building their career, simply because of the fact that you can learn it and put effort into it on a day-to-day basis and see results over time. Like, you don't have to hope. You don't have to sit and hope that something happens for you, because you can make it happen. That's maybe, my look, or maybe
that's
my
so key. You need to repeat that.
Yeah, well, I know that's how you feel, because I was reading about you on your bio, and that was something that you said specifically was, that you believe that if anything's going to happen in your life, you have to make it happen. And that sentiment is echoed with tons of successful individuals that get written about in the books or in the history books. It's like they made things happen, but there was also room for things. They also had help, okay, and there was also some room for serendipity or the divine to step in and affect them. So there's that. You can call it what you want, serendipity, luck, or the divine, but
the magic.
Yeah. So
the right timing.
We can't control everything, but common denominators, they all were like, I'm going to make this happen. And I'm sure we can look at the titans in the music industry, and heck yes, did Prince make it happen? Yes, Prince made it happen. Did Bruce Springsteen make it happen? Yes. Did Billy Joel make it happen? Yes. Did Jimmy Page make it happen? Yes. So all that, and even let's talk about someone like Hendrix. There's a great Hendrix book. It's called Starting at Zero. It's kind of new, but it's an autobiography, but really it's a collection of his personal notes to himself and interview transcripts, all pieced together chronologically. Mm-hmm. Fantastic book, man. It totally, it really is a great book to read if you're the type of musician or guitarist that looks at Hendrix as being a god, or beyond human, because that book really humanizes him and talks a lot about it. He talks about struggles and certain insecurities that he had. Like he says this in the book. He was insecure that his guitar playing sounded like everybody else's. Can you believe that? But yes, believe. It's in his words. Who am I or anyone else to say, Hendrix, you're wrong about being an insecure human being? No, but we're all insecure.
Everybody's got that. Artists especially, because we're putting ourselves out there so much, and just like putting our hearts and our thoughts and our feelings on the line when we expose ourselves through our music. So it's a really fragile environment to be in when you're out there, making music. So I can agree with that sentiment 100%. That's really interesting that he mentioned that in his book.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I was getting so passionate talking about that, I can't even remember what point I was trying to tie that back into. But it is something cool to know about Hendrix, nevertheless. Maybe what I was trying to say will pop back into my head.
Well, the biggest thing I think of what you're saying here is the psyche and the mentality for people.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta recognize, one, working hard and having a solid framework in your mind and believing that you can do it, and also having that understanding the relationship with money and recognizing that you need money to survive. So accept that, accept to embrace abundance in your life. Read a few books. It seems like you're educated in that sense, and you're actually out there reading. I try to tell people, I encourage you, please read some books, like just open your mind, because they really do, or even just listen to interviews if you're not really into reading the books, or listen to an audio book, you know what I mean, get the same kind of message, but it will open your mind to different ideas and ways that you can change, because you don't want to be in that position as an artist where you're frustrated, you're angry, you're mad because you're not able to sustain yourself and to keep on doing it as a career, when there's countless examples out there of people that are doing it. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of people that are out there doing it that don't really have that good music, you know what I mean? Or like, there's all sorts of stuff where you listen to a track and you're just like, how did that become a hit on the radio?
Yeah.
You know, you never know what could happen, and it's all about the hard work and the opportunities that are provided to people, and if they're actually willing to step up and knock it out the park when the opportunity's there.
Yeah, in regards to those people who, you know, we kind of judge harshly for the music, I used to like snub my nose at a lot of artists like that. But when I took the time to actually learn about them, however I could, or just learn a little bit more about kind of struggles they got to get there, you know, I changed my attitude. I had a newfound respect for that, and it's not like if I were to judge people solely based off the music they make, then I don't think I would be a very good person for doing that, because, you know, Robert Johnson had great music, but at the same time, he wasn't a great person. I don't, from what I've told, you know, he was a very unscrupulous person. So, so there's more to a human being than just like what we see the media shows us. You know, you gotta be so skeptical of that, what the media's portraying. Sometimes, like, I feel like a lot of so-called celebrity, whether it's music or not, sometimes they're just putting on a front, you know, and they're not even really like that. It's just their public front or public ego that they use to generate controversy, but that's not how they truly feel, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that gimmicks.
Yeah, and I remember what I wanted to say about Hendrix. The point I was making about, you know, these big artists who also were just going and getting it. You know, you read that book, you'll understand how, you know, Hendrix was making things happen, you know, himself, but also there was an element of things happening for him that were out of his control as well. Like, for instance, he wouldn't have had a lot of opportunities if Chaz Chandler hadn't have taken him under his wing, because he saw Hendrix perform one of his songs. What was it? When Cries Mary or something like that, or maybe it was like a cover of a blues song. And I was like, oh, and he just dug his sound and his look, and then kind of took him under his wing, and that's how Hendrix ended up in the UK. So it's like a lot of things go into it, you know. The music is just a part. In the music business, music is just a part of that. But it's what everything centers around. Yes, but it's kind of like, you know, music could be the engine of a car, but you need wheels and you need seats and you need, you know, the body and the doors and the windshield and all the rest of that for it to all function correctly, you know.
Yeah, no, the artists can't do it all by themselves, and a lot of artists' careers, I think, are propelled by the people that are behind the scenes that nobody gets to really hear about and doesn't even hear their names sometimes. The unsung heroes that go, unnoticed in the backgrounds, that work super diligently to do all the bookings, to do all the managing, to do publicist work, all that kind of stuff that really does put that artist, ahead of the pack and above, sets them apart from the rest. I know your time is fragile, and so I want to be respectful of that. I want to get into quick last things before we finish this. The one was just to really emphasize to people the importance of crowdfunding. One story that just became viral a couple of days ago was, have you ever heard of the group De La Soul?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they just... it's a hip hop group, and they just did I think it was a Kickstarter or something like that, asking for $100,000 to support the funding of their next project. And within I think it was within 9 hours, they hit their goal, and now they're at $500,000. Of crowdfunded, which was a great success story, but they had to sit there and kind of defend it because some blogs and different people were talking about it, like, why is De La Soul asking for money? And they had to basically let people know, this is the new scenario of music. Kickstarter is the new major record label that's signing us a deal, except we get our own control over everything, and it's the fans that are funding this. It's directly to you people that want to get the music, and you get it by funding it, you know what I mean? And they're not asking for much. There was $15 or something like that to support the creation of their next album. And obviously a lot of people want that to happen because they're already at $500,000. But it was just interesting to see them have to defend the fact that they were actually asking for money for their music, and they're trying to let people know this is how the industry's changed now.
Yeah, and that's why I recommend everyone read the Amanda Palmer's book, Art of Asking, because it tackles that issue of why is it so wrong to ask for help? And a lot of musicians, they have, maybe it's they feel like you're crowdfunding is begging. I've read articles like that, which I kind of just feel are complete BS, and people misunderstand the true intention or the true function of crowdfunding. You're paying for something that you want before it's created so it can happen and you can get it. It'd be obviously we have a new Star Wars movie coming out. I'm super stoked about it.
Same. Me and my friend were talking about it today. We were watching all these Star Wars things. Okay. I'm
Yeah, freaking out, dude. So let's say that Disney never bought Lucasfilm, but I had the option of, spending a theater, crowdfunding a new Star Wars movie from some awesome director, and I felt great about it, and I was like, oh, this would be great, and all the original cast was going to do it, and I was like, so you can make a new Star Wars movie. Do you think Star Wars fans would chunk out money? I think so. If they felt
it would be huge.
Going to be good, and there was awesome. Let's say if it just wasn't Disney, but it was everything else was the same. J.J. Abrams was directing. Everything else was the same. And it was oh, we need to raise a gajillion or whatever to make this movie happen. Let's just say it's how much do you think it cost to make a movie? $100 million?
Yeah, I'd say 100 to 500 million.
So I feel like Kickstarter servers would break because people would. How many people, paying a theater ticket, an opening day theater ticket? So say you pledge $12 and you get an opening theater ticket mailed to you or whatever.
Oh yeah, it'd be overwhelming.
Oh yeah, how many people have to pledge $10 before you hit that much money? It's not as much as you think, No. So if it's 100 million, then that's 10 million people at $10 a pop.
That's easy. That's easy. They probably have that on that many likes on their Facebook page. 3
billion people on the planet, and probably a ton of them know about Star Wars.
The Star Wars movie on online has 13 million likes.
Yeah. There, 13 million likes. You only need 10 million at $10 a pop, and you're gonna have some people who are gonna do more than 10. Even poor kids are gonna be $10. They're gonna be I'm gonna I'm highly motivated.
Yeah.
So what's the difference, dude? It's that Star Wars has like people who are just freaking hardcore fans, dude. It's no different than if you were a De La Soul fan. You're just like, heck yes, here's my money. Let's get the album. It's not begging. Everybody that says it's begging, please stop. Just close the laptop, okay?
Please,
Please.
open your eyes, open your minds. Is a new way for an artist to get independently signed is by their own fans. It's amazing. It's a great concept. The other thing that I wanted to touch on before we get off the phone here is this big concept of artists out there making their living and making money off of doing house concerts. So I'm watching a bunch of your interviews on it, and I'm inspired myself to go out and possibly book a couple on my next tour, just, for the different cities that we might not be able to get a venue in or get a promoter. Let's just set up a house party at that spot, and I think we could make it rock. So talk to the people a little bit about your experience talking to artists about house concerts and what has been successful with them and what a house concert really is and what it's all about.
We'll just give just like a quick flash through it. I did an interview with Shannon Curtis, who wrote a book on it. No booker, no bouncer, no bartender. And she made $25K in 2 or 3 months, I believe, doing house concerts. Granted, that's after a lot of hustle building up that fan base, and it's a lot of planning, and that you have to spend money to be doing a house concert tour. But if you're smart and you work the books right, I mean, you'll make a much bigger profit on that than any other kind of traditional tour that you can give out in terms of return on investment. Mm-hmm. How much you spend versus how much you gain, and plus it's, as far as the relationships go, I've been told it's superior. For forging even stronger relationships, and a lot of times doing a house concert, which is just what it sounds, dude. You're playing someone's backyard, you play in their living room, you organize it, you set things up. I know an important part about it is getting not just your merchandise, having that set and ready to go, but also encouraging donations at the end of your show as well. But some people who see their buddy did the house concert will be like, "Oh, I want a house concert too," because they see how cool it was, and the buddy did it, and now they want one too. It's the same thing. It's like, you have a cool toy when you're a kid, but your friend has a cool toy. You're like, I want that cool toy too. So, same kind of thing. So I think that the challenge with the house concerts is the planning phase needs a lot of attention. So if you're not good at planning, you need to get some help. Make sure you got everything squared away, and also just paying attention to your expenses big time, so that you don't overspend. It would cost way more for transport. Let's not take lighting gear, or whatever, because that will cost more than we're going to make. So just paying attention to cash flow is going to be really, really important for that. But yeah, I'd recommend for a detailed account on way more than I could go over. I would encourage everyone to check out Shannon Curtis's book, No Booker, No Bouncer, No Bartender. It's on Amazon, I believe. I also have an interview I did with her. But I have this one caveat: if you're a rock band and you're really loud, I'm interested to see if something like that could work as a house concert, because you have civil ordinances about noise and things like that. So I'd be interested to see if metal bands and rock bands would be able to make that work. If you're out there, get in touch with me and let me know.
Definitely. Well, I love watching your interviews and people. I encourage you to go and check them out, specifically that one with Shannon on the house concerts. It's a great one. It's youtube.com/Seeds of Music, just how it's spelled there, SEEDS of Music, Seeds of Music. Check it out. Kyle, you got so much knowledge in your brain, man. I can tell you're just this is something that you're really passionate about. You love talking to artists, and it shows in all of your interviews that you do. So I really encourage people to go and check you out. What's the website? What's the best place?
The website is because I syndicate to the show to YouTube and on iTunes podcast. but the best way to get in touch is to go to seedsofmusic.net.
Seedsofmusic.net, boom, and you can get all your information there, your email and stuff like that if people want to hit you up.
Everything. Get on the email list too.
Yes, that's key, which we didn't touch on that, but that's such a huge thing that I saw resonate across tons of your interviews with artists. If you're out there, focus on making sure that you cultivate a good, solid email list, not a cold email list, something that's personal, that you get at shows through different, interactions with people, and be really creative with it and recognize what's working and what's not working. Prime your email list sheet with like 10 emails first before you start handing it out. And also, just understand the importance of it, because that's going to be your bread and butter when it comes to selling CDs and making money as an independent artist.
All right, right on, man.
That's what's up. Much respects, Kyle. I hope we can get in touch in the future as well. And if I ever get down to Cali there, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, just leave your jacket at home.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Okay. You have a good one, buddy.
Much respects.
Bye-bye.
Peace.